I think the number 2.
Yes, Chairman, I have a question from Rita Mazalevskis from the Sunshine Coast.
Thank you. Just in regard to STI, LTI and deferred initiatives, in 2019 across the group, ANZ has stated that 151 employees were terminated for breaches of our code of conduct. A further 516 employees received a formal disciplinary outcome, with managers required to apply impacts to their performance and remuneration outcomes as part of the annual review process. It also says at the senior leadership level, 30 current or former senior leaders, being senior executives, executives and senior managers, had a formal consequence applied in 2019 for code of conduct breaches or findings of accountability for a material event or otherwise left the bank after an investigation had been initiated. The consequences applied included warnings, impacts to performance and or remuneration outcomes and cessation of employment. Under the senior leader consequences in 2019, with performance and remuneration consequences, there were 23, formal warnings, there were 12, and no longer employed were 7. So my questions are, how does this filter up to the tone at the top, being the board impacting their base salary, but also in regards to remuneration and LTI, STI deferred entitlements to the CEO? And were they reported to APRA through BEAR?
Well, I can take the easy bit at the end, if I may. Through BEAR, we have to report them, and if they're required to be reported, we do. There's just no doubt about it. Yeah, but if they're just a minor infringement, we don't have to. As to the reports coming up, we don't get, I think it'd be wrong, names as the board, of the people, but we get numbers and we can understand that. They're very small numbers compared to the size of our population, and yes, it is true, management do take into account these infringements, etc., in relation to people's pay, etc. In terms of us, judging, as you asked, the CEO's pay, we look at culture and people. As you can see, we thought he did very well in relation to which was the one, I've got it here, in relation to the customer and so on. We review exactly what happened there, and through that system, we can judge whether his STI should be whatever the number is.
I was just wondering in regards to the senior executives where these issues occurred, how it impacted the CEO given they would report through to him.
Sure.
So there's a group within the organisation called the Consequence Review Group, which assesses the application of the accountability and consequence framework that's referred to in the remuneration report. The Human Resources Committee acts as the consequence review group in relation to Shane and senior management. So when, for example, any deferred shares are to be released, then there's consideration by the committee about whether or not any event has occurred which should result in, for example, those shares to be forfeited. That occurs right through, the organisation, and we act in that role for senior executives and for the CEO. It didn't occur this year, but it did last year. So if you look at our remuneration report for 2018, we made it very clear in that report that there had been some financial consequences for senior executives as a result of certain events. So that's how the framework works from the top right through to the bottom.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the question.